Hi everyone, welcome to another new episode of the Enlivened Woman podcast. My name is Dominica Kearns and I am your host. So today I am doing this episode on the new moon eclipse in Aquarius. I was trying to do a reel on this for social media. And reels are only 3 minutes long and I feel like I have so much to say on this. So I was like, right, I'm just gonna record a podcast. So I'm hoping it's not too long. But yes, so this new moon eclipse is happening in the sign of Aquarius, and it is the first eclipse that we've had in Aquarius in over 9 years. But Aquarius will move into the North Node over the summer, which means it's the first new moon eclipse that we would have connected to the North Node in 18 years. But it, Aquarius is associated with the collective, with humanity. It's also associated with our hopes, our dreams, our wishes. And Aquarius is actually a frequency. So to me, like feeling into this energy of the eclipse, it's all about a frequency shift in the collective, in the earth, on an individual basis as well. So there's a couple of things that I desire to touch on, which to me is all intermingled, interconnected. So, this eclipse is squaring one of its rulers, Uranus, in the sign of Taurus. So both Uranus and Aquarius is disruption. Um, it's rebellion and it's change. Now, we can look out and we can see what is going on in the collective. It's wild. But this is what's going to cause the change, the disruption, and it's causing normal people, the people that don't have the power over. It's causing us to want to rebel. And I really feel there is rebellion coming, particularly for the feminine. So there is a lump caught in my throat for ages, and I know it's because I want to speak so much. So yeah, anyways, I'm here, I'm speaking. So the Uranus that is squaring the new moon is in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is foundations. Taurus is connected to the earth. It's connected to the body. It is connected to money. It is connected to pleasure, to the divine feminine. So when I was tuning into the energy of this eclipse, the change needs to, like, our foundations need to be changed. Our foundations are going to be rocked to the core, both collectively on an individual level. We can feel this by looking out on a global level and then feeling what's happening on an internal level. But in order for the frequency shift to happen in the earth, the foundations of the earth, the foundations of your life need to change. And if we pull this into an individual level, our foundations need to get rocked to our core. Uranus in Taurus, it it shows us what's unstable, that's not instability, yeah. Is unstable a word? It shows us what's unstable, and it's gonna shake everything to the core, what's not working, and that's what we need to open up to our hopes, our dreams, our wishes. So this is like, for a lot of us, we have been in this period of shedding, a lot of shedding, because just right up until the eclipse, we are still in this snake energy. We have a Saturn at its final degree in Pisces that doesn't and that transition to Aries happens on Sunday, 2 days before the eclipse. But we are in and have been in this period of shedding for a very, very long time. And, you know, that means that shedding, that letting go, it means it obviously will shake our foundations up, shake us to the core, and this eclipse will show us what's not working, what needs to change, and, how that shift is going to happen. Now, I want to really, obviously, my podcast is all about the divine feminine, and yes, so here's where the divine feminine comes in. So, the divine feminine is an energy, it's not necessarily women, because no matter what your gender is, we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. But I am talking about the frequency, the energy of the divine feminine. I'm also talking about women. So sorry if I keep clearing my throat. There is something like it's just stuck. But the day before the eclipse happens, Venus rises into her evening star phase. And this is a part of an 18-month cycle that begins when Venus goes retrograde. So for the last 11 months, Venus has been down in the underworld, walking through the gates of the underworld and doing a lot of excavation on her shadow self. And the last 2 months particularly, Venus, the feminine women, have had to integrate all of that underworld experience that we've had. So we have a lot of shedding. But for me in particular, the last 2 months, I have felt that I have been more on this integration mode. I've been doing excavation, but it's really like integrating it all. And on the 16th, the day before the eclipse, Venus rises up into her evening star phase. So Venus rises up and takes space, claims her throne, takes her space as the brightest star in the sky. So women are rising. We are like being called to take up space, to sit on our thrones, and to stand in our power. Because remember, this is the day before the eclipse. We're already in eclipse portal. So the collective needs women in their power. For the frequency to shift, we need women in our power. And this affects the collective, not just women, but everyone. So Venus rises in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces is all about truth and trust. So when women begin to trust themselves, we can then begin to speak our truth and be who we came to be, the leaders that we came here to be. Because right now in the world, we need more women in leadership. We need more women speaking their truths, and we need more women trusting themselves. Look, how many of us are always second guessing ourselves and wondering, so indecisive and so confused because we don't trust ourselves. But Venus in the sign of Pisces is saying that women, when we begin to trust ourselves, we begin to speak our authentic self, our authentic truth, and we begin to rise into our power. That is what the collective needs right now. But I just wanted to touch a bit more on this Venus rising into our evening star and the connection to this eclipse. So as I said, Venus rises in Pisces, but she's at the sign, at the eighth degree. Now, the eighth degree is associated with Scorpio. So, what is Scorpio? Scorpio is death, rebirth, and transformation. It's also sex, money, and power. So, yes, we have been deep down in the underworld doing the shadow work excavation. So we've died, and now we are about to be reborn. We are about to step into our power. If we look at what's going on in the collective and these Epstein files, and how we're seeing men, people who have power over, they have money, and they are, what they're doing to women, abusing women, using their money and power to do this. And, I've seen a couple of things to say that there's been like sex magic involved, but on the dark side of magic. Now, if we look at our sexual energy is our life force energy. It is our creative energy. It literally gives birth to everything, but it's also our life-sustaining energy. So from working with sacred sexuality and doing training, I do know that the power of our sexual energy. I know what sex magic can do. But we're seeing these men not taking from women, abusing women, but also doing it yes, being intentional. They're intentionally doing it, but they're intentionally siphoning the sexual energy. And I remember reading, I can't remember what I was reading, and it was a few months back, reading how, generations ago that people in power would have used sex, but as dark magic to gain power, to gain money, but not also so that they would stay in power, so that their generations after them would stay in power. So this is where sex gets very distorted. So then we begin to look at sex, money, and power as if something that we need to suppress, because that's what we have been taught. Women have been taught to suppress their sexual energy, to suppress their power, and to look at money as evil. Because if we look at the collective, we are seeing that these evil people have money, have sex, are utilizing sex and have power, but they're using it for evil things. But this is where, from the feminine perspective, from the sacred perspective, from the holiness of it, from why we incarnated, women who are heart-led, who are leading from the heart, who are here to revolutionize this world with their sacred work, who lead from the heart. This is why, connect the healing force. If you haven't already done healing work on your sexual energy and your sexual experiences and your sexual trauma, stepping into your power and, gaining financial resources, because we need good people. We need more women who are heart-centered to have money, so that we can do good things rather than destroy the earth. We can help, expand it. We can help the collective expand. And this is where the scorpionic, the 8th degree, comes in. Because, excuse me, because, Scorpio is connected to the genitals as well. And, it's our creative energy. And for a lot of us, we have, when it comes to our sexual energy, it's suppressed, right? because we may have sexual trauma. We may not just that, but we have like our beliefs, what society ingrained on us about a woman and her sexual expression. And we will like anything that was passed on through our families, but also we hold our ancestral trauma within our womb space. So, and this is where the Aquarian, the eclipse, and the squaring Uranus and Taurus comes in, and why it's so important for women to be reconnected back to their body, their pleasure, and their sexual expression. So, Aquarius is connected to the nervous system and to trauma. And it's very much connected to like disassociation, to the free states, to the dorsal vagal, the dorsal vagal branch. And the dorsal vagal branch, it is within our womb space for it ends within our womb space within a female body. So if we have trauma within our womb, whether it's our own, whether it's the collective, whether it's our ancestors, we become disassociated with our womb space, with our creative space, with the and there's a lot of freeze going on in that area in the pelvis for women. So not only are we like disassociated and shut down from our sexual erotic energy, but a lot of women are disassociated with their wombs, because again, we have been taught for thousands of years our periods are dirty, they are shameful, so we disassociate, and we live in a society that is male dominated, and it tells us to override our body, to not connect to your womb. If you are bleeding, well, you just have to get on with it, and we'll be holding trauma, dear, not just from like SA, not just from our ancestors, but you could even be holding trauma, dear, if you had a miscarriage, if you had an abortion, if you have any health issues going on there in your womb space. So for a lot of women, there is this free state, this associated state with their wombs and with their pussies. But they are very much the center of a woman's power and pleasure and power. So if we look at the womb space and we look at the free state of the nervous system, like the dorsal branch of the vagus system, as I said, it ends within the womb space, and that activates free state. So that makes us disassociated. So the womb space is associated with the sacral chakra, and the sacral chakra is all about pleasure and creativity. So that is our creative pleasure center. If we cannot access pleasure, which activates our creativity, if we cannot access our creative life force, we are stuck in survival mode. So we cannot build the life that we want. We cannot connect to our hopes, our dreams, our wishes, our desires, Aquarius, because we are shut down and disassociated. So, so there's the Aquarian part. So if we look to Uranus and Taurus, Taurus is about the body. It's about the pleasure. It's about sensuality. It is about money. And it's about safety. Uranus in Taurus squaring this Aquarius eclipse. For women to rebel, for women to rise into their power as we move forward, it's going to be very important that we are embodied, that we are in the body. that we are connecting to our pleasure, to our sensuality, to our cycles, and slowing down. This is how the revolution happens. Now, you might be listening to this and you might have a lot of trauma. And I understand this. But what I mean is that I can see so much moving forward. There is going to be a lot more, well, not there is going to be, well, there is going to be a lot, but a lot more women's work is going to be needed. So there's going to be a need to heal our sexual trauma, to heal the trauma that is within our womb, to work with our nervous system. So as a female nervous system owner, what we need, the hormone that needs to, the chemical that needs to be activated is oxytocin. So oxytocin gets stimulated through pleasure, through touch, through slowing down, through connection. And that's what helps women create a regulated nervous system. Now, we live in a world that is male dominated, and society tells us that we need to continue to take action, that we need to have lists that are so long, that we need to have millions of tasks to do. And if we do not have that, then we are unworthy. So as women, we are trying to create a life that we desire, create an independent life. So we think, oh, I need to make a lot of lists. I need to make sure I'm meeting all those tasks, that I'm taking action every single minute of every single day. So what that does is that activates dopamine. Now, dopamine is what men need to help with their testosterone. And what dopamine does is it reduces oxytocin. So it keeps us stuck in survival mode. So moving forward, right, there is going to be, on a collective level, more women are going to desire to heal their sexual energy, to heal all the trauma in their pelvis, in their womb. And it starts by healing our nervous system. It starts by looking at our trauma. And no, that's not easy, especially with all the trauma that we experience in our pelvis as women. But on a collective level, we will see this as well. When I was tuning in, and as I said, coming back to that Venus rising into her evening star phase in Pisces, saying that women need to trust themselves so that they can begin to speak their most authentic, speak their truth. I also felt, the collective needs this, right? But Venus is connected to the divine feminine. So whether you, as I said, whether you are a man, a woman, or whatever your gender is, everyone has masculine and feminine qualities. So this is going to help the feminine on a collective on a collective level here. Again, that can connect to men. And this, the more women that have and are looking at healing their sexual experiences, their sexual trauma. Like, our sexual energy is our most potent, creative, life-giving and powerful energy. It is. And a woman who is sexually awakened is a woman who's truly owning her power. And a woman who is sexually empowered, owning her power, cannot be manipulated and controlled. So this is really what I can feel that we're going to see collectively more women sexually awakening and healing the trauma. And that helps heal the earth as well. You see, the earth is feminine, and the earth holds, she holds everything. She holds all the pain within the land. She holds all the pain within the water. If you think of water, which covers 2/3 of the earth, water is consciousness and remembers everything. Water is the feminine, you know. And if we look at, excuse me, again, I'm looking at the degree of the, sorry, you have to take some water. I have a big lump in my throat. So apologies. So the degree of the new moon is 28 degrees. 28 degrees is connected to Cancer. Cancer is the womb. Cancer is the mother. Cancer is cycles. Cancer is the moon. It's gestation, it's life-giving. Wow, just affirming the same things over and over again. Women returning back into their bodies, women connecting to their womb, women learning about their womb, women healing their trauma, women with a healed and regulated nervous system, women who are wealthy are going to change this world. And if we look at like wealth, Aquarius, Uranus is associated with wealth consciousness. Taurus, which Uranus is about money. And again, we'll get back to the nervous system. We need to have a safe and regulated nervous system to build and grow and hold wealth. And we need to be able to access the creative energy within our womb space to create money, to create wealth, to create abundance. And we need to be able to tap into that creative energy within our womb, because this is where women create from. We don't create from our mind, we create from our womb. And I do feel that, you know, I have been looking more into the female nervous system, and I've been thinking about some of the signs, and I really see Aquarius being connected to the womb. And because of the dorsal vagus branch of the nervous system stopping in the womb, because trauma is held within our pelvis, because as women, this is where we create wealth. This is where we give life to literally everything. So, you know, this is what I feel moving forward from this eclipse is more embodied women, more sexually awakened women, because this is how collectively, this is how women will rise into their power. And this is how the collective change will happen. Through a sexual revolution, a sexual healing, sexual revolution. If we go back to, I spoke about this on, I think, 2 episodes before, where I was speaking about Venus. If we go back to 2 years ago, to the end of 2024, when Pluto went into Aquarius for good has 18 more years, 17 more years there. The first sign to hit off it was Venus. Feminine revolution. Venus again is connected to this new moon eclipse. The feminine rebels by healing her sexual trauma, by healing the trauma that is within her pelvis, by awakening her sexual energy, by leading through her body, leading through her cycles, and allowing her womb to guide her in creating and bringing forth her hope, dreams, and wishes, and creating the most abundant life that, yes, affects us individually, but women in power who have money, who are leading from the heart, that benefits not just the individual, but the collective. And, Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius. If we look to the other ruler, the traditional ruler, Saturn, 2 days before, 3 days, the 15th. Yeah, 2 days, isn't it? Before the 17th, 2 days before, Saturn enters into Aquarius. And, Saturn is about self-responsibility and self-leadership, right? In Aries. But then 2 days, 3 days after the eclipse, we have Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries, which is dissolving old identities, right? Because that's what we need, that's what we need to move forward um, in creating the desired life that we desire to build and creating the earth that we desire to create, in creating and bringing forth that new frequency that this eclipse is bringing in. So I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, I was trying to fit all that into a 3-minute reel. So as you can see why it didn't happen. But yeah, as always, I would love to hear any feedback you have on this. If you enjoyed this, please rate the episode on Spotify, please like it on YouTube, and please subscribe to me on YouTube and follow me on Spotify if you are enjoying my podcasts. So just a little tips while we are in eclipse season, even though the first one doesn't happen until the 17th, and then the second one 2 weeks after. We're in eclipse portal anyways. So it's very important that we are staying within our body, because we can feel all the wildness going on. We feel very ungrounded, and that's normal in eclipse energy anyways. So it's very important that you stay grounded within your body. Do things to nourish and nurture and regulate yourself. Drink plenty of water, make sure you're getting rest, and nourish yourself properly, both in what you are digesting from food, from water, but also what you are digesting, what you are being stimulated from the outside world. Excuse me. So yeah, I will leave you there, and happy eclipse.